get lifted. Let's get lifted. Let's get lifted. Let's get lifted on these ABCs. 1, 2, 3. Take a look inside. Everything you need is right in front of you. Right in front of you with these ABCs. Thank you. My name is Lauren F. Jones, and I am teaching you Amplafii Genius Brillionaires about some icons. You mind if I share them with you and you teach them to other people you know? All right. Well, first we're going to start with Cottrell Lawrence Dellums, born January 3rd, 1900, passed December 5th, 1989. He was a union leader and a civil rights activist. Cottrell Lawrence Dellums made significant social contributions as a pioneer in the union movement and as a key officer in the California chapter of the NAACP. As a young man, Dellums took a job as a Pullman porter and soon afterward began speaking out for his rights and those of his fellow porters. Much to the dismay of the Pullman company, he was fired. He began speaking out for his rights and those of his fellow porters, much to the dismay of the Pullman company. He was fired for his union activity in 1927. Undaunted, however, Dellums organized a union for porters on the West Coast. After meeting A. Philip Randolph, Dellums joined the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters and was elected its national vice president. In 1940, Dellums and other civil rights organizations organized what would have been the first march on Washington, but the march never occurred. The impetus for the march ended when President Franklin D. Roosevelt ordered the defense industry to hire minority workers. Photograph courtesy of the African American Museum and Library at Oakland, a division of the Oakland Public Library. These are Library of Congress knowledge cards. Next is Adam Clayton Powell Jr., born November 29th, a very special day, 1908, passed April 4th, 1972. Clergyman, congressman, civil rights activist. Born in New Haven, Connecticut, Adam Clayton Powell Jr. graduated from Colgate University and earned his master's degree at Columbia University. While working as assistant pastor to his father, Powell organized the picketing of white-owned establishments in Harlem that hired no blacks and led other successful civil rights demonstrations. Elected to Congress in 1944, he introduced measures opposing lynching and the poll tax and worked to end segregation in Washington, D.C. schools, federal buildings, the Congressional Press Section, and other venues. Accused of misusing public funds, Powell was deposed as chair of the Education and Labor Committee and barred from his House seat in 1967. But he was reelected and seated again 2 years later. Despite the controversy that surrounded him, Powell worked diligently for justice and equality throughout his career, authoring more than 50 pieces of social legislation. He was known for his popular slogan, "Keep the faith, baby." Photograph courtesy of Washington, D.C. Public Library knowledge cards. Adam Clayton Powell Jr. Next, Dr. Daniel Hale, H-A-L-E, Williams. Born January 18th, 1856, passed November 4th, 1931. He was a surgeon, a medical pioneer. A surgeon and medical pioneer. After earning his medical degree at the Chicago Medical College in 1883, Dr. Daniel Hale Williams opened a practice in Chicago's South Side. Barred along with other Black physicians from operating at Chicago hospitals, he became determined to establish a hospital that would employ Black doctors and train Black nurses. As a result of his efforts, Providence Hospital, a facility for people of all races, opened in 1892 in a 3-story stove-heated facility with 12 beds. Stove-heated facility. In 1893, Dr. Williams became the first surgeon to perform successful open-heart surgery, suturing the heart and pericardium of a stabbing victim. His patient, James Cornish, recovered fully and lived another 50 years. From 1899 until his death, Dr. Williams served as professor of clinical surgery at Meharry Medical College in Nashville, Tennessee. Throughout his life, he devoted much of his energy to supporting the NAACP and opening hospitals and training schools for Black doctors and nurses. Dr. Daniel Hale Williams. All right. Noble Johnson, born April 18th, 1881, passed January 9th, 1978, according to the internet. He was an actor. Noble Johnson was one of the first Black actors to attain the status of star. In 1914, he landed his first movie role in the successful Universal Pictures film, The Eagle's Nest. He then signed a contract with Universal and became a celebrity to many African Americans. In 1915, Johnson and Clarence Brooks launched the Lincoln Motion Picture Company, which produced several successful films in which Johnson played the leading role. His brother, George, was publicity manager. Because Johnson's participation in the film company conflicted with his contract with Universal Pictures, he eventually resigned as president. Johnson often appeared in non-Black roles, portraying in various films Mexican, Chinese, Spanish, Cuban, Tibetan, and Eskimo characters. He played the role of a Tartar in Hounds of Zaroff, and the role of Friday in Robinson Crusoe. Photographed courtesy of the African American Museum and Library at Oakland, a division of the Oakland Public Library. Knowledge cards. All right, last but not least, James Beckwourth, born April 26, 1798, passed October between 20th and 30th of 1866 or 67, so it's a little unclear. So 1867, October 20th through the 30th, around there he passed. He was a trapper, also a marksman. James Beckwourth was a contemporary of Kit Carson, Davy Crockett, and Daniel Boone, and like them, he was tough enough to succeed in the Wild West. Born a slave, he lived with several Native American tribes from 1826 to 1834, including the Absaroka or Crow people. From then, he earned various names acknowledging his increasing honor and bravery. First, White-Handed Knife, then Morning Star. In 1856, when he made a tribal leader, and later Antelope. So he was White-Handed Knife, Morning Star, and later Antelope. In 1844, while leading a wagon train of new settlers, Beckwourth discovered a passage through the Sierra Nevada mountain range. That pass, now called Beckwourth Pass, became an overland wagon route to the upper Sacramento Valley. Beckwourth carried the mail by horseback from Monterey to Southern California in 1847. It is believed that he was poisoned by the Absaroka people during a visit in 1864 to keep him from returning to live among people in the outside world. All right. James Beckwourth. So we've got Cottrell Lawrence Dellums, Adam Clayton Powell Jr., Dr. Daniel Hale Williams, Noble Johnson, and James Beckwourth. Thank you for getting lifted with me on on these ABCs. We'll see you again next time.